Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your Trader Merlin show. It is your Wednesday edition. This will be the last show of the week. Half day tomorrow. I won't be doing a show. I'm going to be out celebrating, traveling, enjoying, do something. I don't know. I'll hopefully have a great day tomorrow, and I hope you do as well. Now, before I start today's show, I want to real quickly go into a disclaimer. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm normally not very active on Twitter, and one thing that bugs me in the whole cryptocurrency space is what's called the XRP army. Now, what these are people who believe that XRP, Ripple, is the greatest thing in the world, that nothing else matters, that it's going to take over and be this global powerhouse financial system that rules the world without even thinking about the mechanics of it. So I spent the day responding back to some people's comments on how great Ripple is. And obviously, I do own Ripple in full disclosure, but some of those people may join us here today and be a little hostile. If they do, don't worry. The moderator will block them. So if you're hostile. Anyway, hopefully we can have a good discourse on it. But, bottom line, the reason I disliked Ripple so much is because Ripple is owned by Ripple Labs and has just got partner banks. So it's got Santander, Bank of America is actually a part of that one, and several others, which gives it power. However, Ripple should, most cryptocurrencies, the good stuff, is a decentralized network. That you have computers all over the world to make sure the data is safe, the transactions are safe and accurate. And you incentivize those participants to be a part of that network with rewards, incentives. That's what Cardano, Avalanche, Ethereum, all the big blockchains do to facilitate what's called game theory. And game theory essentially says you want to incentivize people to act for a common goal, and that is to do the right thing. So you reward them with monetary rewards. And if they do something wrong, you take away from them. With Ripple, there's none of that. If you're a validator on Ripple, you earn literally goose eggs. So there's no incentive for you or I to be a part of that network. Now, Ripple only allows those major participants to make any changes to the blockchain. So these XRP army fools, they keep telling me that, it's the biggest blockchain, it's so decentralized. It's not decentralized at all. It actually is very centralized. And if you study blockchain, of course, I teach blockchain and cryptocurrencies at Trading Academy, you know that there's three types of blockchains. There's a public blockchain, which is open source, anyone can participate, very decentralized. That would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. You also have what's called a federated or consortium blockchain, which is a blockchain that's controlled by just a few individuals. That's what Ripple is. That's what JP Morgan's blockchain is. And not that they're terrible. They just don't represent what cryptocurrency represents, which is decentralization and power to the people. Ripple is a company. It is a business. And essentially, their tokens are like shares. You're buying those Ripple tokens with the expectations to make a profit, and it's controlled by a central entity, which means it would not pass the Howey test, which means it's a security, which means as we get this Clarity Act, Ripple could come under fire, which is why they're buttering the bread of so many politicians right now and putting billions of dollars into Washington to lobby for Ripple to get past some of this stuff and make good favor for these senators who will probably vote corruptly anyway. So I had to start there. Sorry, that was my opening rant. You had a couple minutes there of me going off on the XRP guys. So anyway, good to see you, Tejas. Hello, we got Tejas, Wisconsin. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California. I'm loving it. Obviously, markets were really good today for me compared to what they were yesterday. So I am... You may hear the enthusiasm in my voice. I even updated my trade sheet to show you the trades that I made yesterday. So let's start. Let's go into the job warning signs. Now, this wasn't like the most earth-shattering number, but it certainly was bad enough to cause a little bit of concern in the markets, especially when you think about what's going on with interest rates. And of course, I've been, hold on. I have another graphic here I want to share with you guys where I created some animations, and hopefully I can get that one to start. I'm not sure why my animations didn't start today. So there it is. This is what I wanted to show you. Boom. And thank you, Midjourney, for allowing me to create such fun graphics for the show now. And I feel like this is kind of that jobs data. The numbers are looking rather dismal and potentially falling down, down, down. And Mick says, one entry doesn't make a trend. Absolutely. But let's go look at what that trend is. Here's your ADP non-farm employment change. Previous number, it's so weird how Forex Factory changed these numbers, because yesterday was 33,000, today it's 29. And they said we're going to go to 99,000. We came out at negative 33,000. That is job contraction, not a sign that you want to see. And since Mick brought it up, the trend is your friend till the bend at the end, let's go look and see what that trend may be looking like over the past 6 or 7 months. So, Mick, I am 100% agree with you. One entry doesn't make a trend. However, those last 7 or 8 entries, would you agree that that is a downtrend going on here in ADP non-farm employment change? It's concerning because if you notice the gold dashes, the markets have been anticipating a downtrend in that. However, we've been not even coming close to the expectation numbers, and today was a very big miss. Now, this is not a panic moment. I am not, as Oliver would say, the doom and gloom guy, but if the trend is in fact your friend until the bend at the end, then this number here may actually have a pretty big impact on our number that we're getting tomorrow, which is going to be the biggest piece for the week. That is the unemployment rate. And right now expectations are that is going to tick up to 4.2%. Still nothing dramatic, but as you can see here on this chart, we've been stuck at 4.2 for the past 3 months. This would be, well, you guys tell me, would this be a strike for or a strike against Jerome Powell cutting rates in July, right? If that unemployment number continues to, I've taken over, John. Oh, geez Louise. If you continue to look at the trend of unemployment rising, it would be for Jerome Powell cutting rates because you need to stimulate the economy. So this is another little factor here that says Jerome Powell, if we see unemployment continue to rise, the non-farm employment dropping or unemployment numbers rising, that does put more pressure on Jerome Powell. And I'll tell you, I've been in the camp of September for a while, of thinking that September will be the point where we get that 25 basis point cut. If we get CPI and PPI numbers this month that come out showing inflation's under control, we're going to get it in July. I'd rather he held, but it's going to shift here real quick. Today, we didn't see much of a dramatic shift at all. It increased 0.3%, it increased 3%. Right now, the expectation, a 23% chance of a rate cut at the July 30th meeting. And man, I'll tell you, if that inflation number comes in under control for CPI and PPI, then I have a feeling we might actually see this number shift and become much higher probability of a rate cut in July. Oh, hard to believe. Hard to believe. Powell is waiting to see how the tariffs hit prices. Yes. And on that note, we can shift here real quick to Les's comment, which is the trade deal. Now, obviously, everyone's focused on what's going to happen with China, China being the major player, and then we can talk about the European Union, and we can talk about Canada, Mexico, and other countries as well. But today, it almost felt like, a glimmer of hope, and that deal was done with Vietnam, which is, in my opinion, great. Good for you, Vietnam. I mean, look, you need America as an ally. You need American trade. So what they've done is imports into the United States, we still are tariffing 20%. Exports into Vietnam, 0%. I'm really surprised to see that. Now, in my opinion, if I'm Vietnam, I'll say, hey, if you're doing 20, we'll do 20. If you want to do 0, we'll do 0, right? You pick it, but we will match whatever you do. I don't know. I wasn't on the negotiating team, but kind of surprised to see Vietnam go to 0 for imports into Vietnam and imports in the U.S. at 20%. So, who's going to be the big winner there? Well, I think Nike, I saw that name come up here, should be a very big recipient of some of that. And I think you can see that here, just even after their earnings, there was a lot of relief after the earnings, which they beat, right? They were expected to make 13 cents. They came out at 14. Big deal. But today you saw another 4% pop. My gut tells me that this was probably known by insiders over the past few days where he's like, hey, we're going to make a deal with Vietnam. But that obviously would be much better for Nike going forward. Why? Because it removes uncertainty. The horrible I word, and it's not inflation in this case, it's the U word, uncertainty. Man, I'm on fire today. I'm making mistakes all over the place. Yes, it was very obvious, but no, I'm not the lead negotiator. I wish I was. I'm not a real good negotiator. For every time I've gone to Southeast Asia, my friend is like, it makes my spine crawl at how aggressive he is negotiating. And if anybody here has ever been to, let's say, Thailand, you go there and you say, oh, I'd like to buy this shirt. And the guy says, oh, it's 300 baht. And my friend Josh would instantly, no matter what it was, he would instantly offer half of that. So he'd be like, 150 baht. And in my mind, I'm like, that's insulting the people, right? That's just rude to go down. And right away, the people be like, 200 baht. I'm like, wow, you just saved 30% if you agree at 200 baht. So yeah, you got to get good at negotiating. I was never very good at it, but Josh has taught me a lot of things about it. So maybe I'll get better. So Nike, the thing is, do we buy it now? Do you chase this one on that news? I'd be very careful with that, but I think that definitely the trend is done falling for Nike. I wish I had my shares that I bought back here in the 50s. Of course, I was selling covered calls, and those were taking away. Thomasina says, actually, not negotiating with them is an insult. Well, some people they see a number and they say, I'll pay that. And that's typically what I would do. Because, if I went to Home Depot and I'm like, hey, I'd like that DeWalt drill. How much is it? $500? I'll give you $300 for it. But, the counter clerk's going to be like, what, are you out of your mind? Beat it. Get out of here. Where in Thailand, they'll be like, okay, we'll take it. Yeah, negotiate. What do I buy overseas? We're turning this into a vacation show, Margaret. If you go to Southeast Asia, a lot of people like to bring a lot of stuff. What I would highly recommend is you bring a backpack. Let's say you're going to Thailand for 2 weeks. Bring a backpack. In that backpack, you have one set of closed-toed shoes that are extremely comfortable, made for a lot of walking. You have a pair of flip-flops, a couple pairs of shorts, a couple t-shirts, and maybe like a light rain jacket, and your toiletries, maybe some electronics. It should fit in one small backpack. When you leave, you're going to come back with roller bags of stuff because it's so much cheaper than anything you will buy here. So when I go, I'll go there and I initially will stop at the big mall in Bangkok. When I go to Thailand, I'll stop at Bangkok and I'll go find my tailor. So you stay in Bangkok for, let's say, 2 or 3 days. And first day, you're getting to the tailor. You get your stuff all measured. You go back the next day for your fitting. One more day for a fitting, and then you leave for the rest of the trip. When you come back, you'll have a bunch of stuff with you, and you may have already bought another backpack that's bigger while you're there. But when you come back to Bangkok, they have malls that are, unbelievably massive. We're talking 7 floors that just seem to go on to infinity and beyond. It's ridiculous. So you go buy yourself a gigantic roller bag, and you spend 2 days just going through buying Levi's jeans for $5 and Dolce & Gabbana shirts for 50 cents. It's crazy, the deals. Are some of them knockoffs? Yeah, of course. Sure they are. But you'll end up getting all your tailoring, all the goods, all the stuff. You load up a nice hard side luggage. And don't buy the luggage with the zipper, folks. Buy the one with the key and the snaps and the buckles. And then you go through. Do I declare it at customs? Yes, I do declare it customs. But I always come right in underline. So I think last time I went, it was $800 worth of tailoring was the most that you could bring in, something like that. Well, mine was $750, and I had the woman who made my clothes give me receipts for it so I could show the guy's like, that's a lot more than $800 worth. I said, I don't know, I negotiated well, and he's like, all right, go ahead. So yes, I do declare it. You think I want any issues with customs? No. Kenny says, how's the quality on the items? Awesome. And it's important that you shop around, right? You can go into stores, they have all kinds of samples, and you can point and say, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want this material, and liners and buttons and snaps, you name it. It's honestly one of the best things you can do. Especially for men, if you dress professionally and you really want to wear a nice suit, there's nothing that compares. I mean, if I'm Shaquille O'Neal, I'd go to Thailand all the time and just my wardrobe would be full because it's so hard to get a nice custom suit. I know, Mick, totally ADHD tangent. It gets me all fired up because I had a great day, and I do want to travel back to Thailand. Mick reminds me, I need to get back to normal, so let's go back. Most American malls are closed. Yep. Wait till you see the ones in downtown Bangkok, man. It is absolutely nuts. Okay, so let's go back to the trade deal side of things. Obviously, July 9th, coming up here next week, is a huge day. I am probably going to go about half of the size I normally would, right? So I generally trade fairly large positions. Next week, when I roll over and I start doing new positions on what I see moving next week on Monday, I'm probably going to scale back significantly just because I don't want to get caught off guard on something very crazy. And if, in fact, President Trump does what I think he's going to do, which is be very vocal and play hardball again and just talk loud and say, we're going to tariff everyone. This is ridiculous. You've had 90 days and you have not done a deal with us. That's unacceptable. We're going to tariff you even 5,000%, right? I think he's going to do something to shock all the markets as he typically does. So I want to be there if the markets have a big down day next week to capitalize on down movement. So I'm probably going to go much lighter next week than I normally do. And I think that the 9th is going to be that key day. Now, this trade deal with Vietnam, it's definitely a very positive sign. I think it sends a message to other countries like, hey, we're certainly going to work with you. Let's do it. Let's get something done. But I don't know if China's going to fall for that or jump into the fray there. Big Eb says, where do you wear the suits? You want to know the truth, Big Eb? You can't handle the truth. Now, the truth is, when I first went to Thailand was 1994. It was 94? Sorry, 2004. It was right before the tsunami. And I've gone back many times since then. Some of you that are in your 50s and 60s may understand this, but for some strange reason, as I went from my 30s to my 40s and a little bit higher number there, my midsection and my waist continued to go horizontal. I'm losing vertical altitude, but I'm gaining horizontal. So all the stuff that I bought back in the day, at least the pants, don't fit me anymore, Big Eb. So thanks for reminding me that I'm getting a little bit plump around the waistline. But I'd like to go back and get refitted. And I wear them when I go present. I'll be wearing it up to my presentations up in Vegas, weddings, wherever. I hope I don't go to too many funerals. The gravity is... It's just bad eating. Honestly, it's bad eating. But when I go to Vegas, I'll have a couple of suits, but none of them are my custom Thailand ones. I might have a suit jacket, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'd love to get them redone. Absolutely. There's nothing that feels as good as just a perfectly fit clothing. And by the way, for anyone here who is going, you ladies, don't feel alienated. What I would recommend if you ever go to Vietnam or Thailand is bring your favorite article of clothing. That one piece that you put on, you're like, I'm going to wear this shirt into the grave. I love this shirt or these pants or this sweat, whatever. And bring it to the tailor and say, copy this. I want copies of this in all these different materials. Go for it. And you will be amazed what happens. Okay. Back to our show before Mick gets on my case again for being squirreled off to the side. The trade deal, I think, is a very positive sign. It's not that significant. Vietnam, I wouldn't say, is this colossal mover for the U.S. economy, but I do think it's important because it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone for more deals to come, and Nike certainly is one of the big beneficiaries here. Or really, any shoe designer, clothing labels like Old Navy or Gap could be influenced by this one as well because the cost of textiles, etc. There we go. Lululemon. I'm not sure where Lululemon is made. Let's see where. Let's ask the internet. Where is made? I think it's China, but so primary manufacturing is Asia, China, Vietnam, and Bangladesh. So maybe Lululemon benefits a little bit here. To what percentages, I don't know, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully we'll have more resolution. Again, I'm going to take a little more caution next week, and then we'll see what happens after that. All right, what else do I have? Margaret's going to love this one. So back in the day, I was not attacking, I was just saying Robinhood's trash, right? You got a business model that's dead. And look what it did. From 2022 to 2024, it did nothing, right? And Margaret, to be fair, not to try to escape from my comments on Robinhood, I said you've got a stock that looks like it's dying. The model is dead and needs to kind of reinvent itself. I don't see it changing. The only way that I think it's going to get better is if it starts to make some higher highs, right? So that's my big thing on any trend, whether it's up or down, is I need to know if that trend is intact. And that horizontal trend kind of stayed in place for a long time. If you look at this high that was back here in, let's call it August of 2023, we hit it, bounced back down, and that becomes one of your trigger points as a buy point. Is like it's now officially, especially here in February of 2024, it broke through and started to make some new highs. Okay, the trend's reversed. For whatever reason, who cares? Now, of course, I know myself, excuse me, this big sell-off in July of 2024 would have absolutely taken me out. I know that. I hope that you're still in. But right now, what's really interesting is what Robinhood has done. How do businesses get out of a rut? Right? You can't do business as usual. And if Robinhood continued to do business as usual, I think they would have gone bankrupt. Their model was getting publicly slammed for selling of order flow to Citadel and other markets. There's not that much money in it because they're free trading commissions. So what do? You reinvent your model, and they started doing cryptocurrency. That certainly was one that brought a lot more revenue to them. And it's not the exclusive piece that saved it. There are all kinds of other actions that were taken. But if you saw the news that happened yesterday, which is a very interesting piece, with Robinhood, they have now really doubled and quadrupled down on cryptocurrency and digital assets. That is very, very interesting. So what they're doing, and this is only in the EU, the European Union, is they are tokenizing US stocks. So you can buy a token of Apple that trades 24 hours a day, 5 days a week on Robinhood. Very cool. That doesn't impact US markets, at least not consumers, because we don't have access to that. So a great move. I think it's absolutely fantastic. However, I have this looming concern. I talked about this in the cryptocurrency program. What you're going to see in DeFi marketplaces, which is, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, all kinds of DeFi marketplaces out there. There's hundreds of them. They're going to start replicating this model. So Robinhood is a centralized exchange. They control everything. There's going to be a portion, a segment of this market, like myself, that says, well, I don't like Robinhood. I don't like that centralized business. I'm going to go DeFi. And they'll be able to get the exact same product, a tokenized instrument. I mean, I can go into different DeFi marketplaces and I can create my own tokens. And I can say this token tracks the price of Apple. We put a smart contract together. Inside that smart contract, there's an oracle that tells that contract what the price of Apple is, or Microsoft, or Intel. While this sounds great, and at surface you're like, wow, this is revolutionizing the way that trading is being done. There's two really big negatives here. Number one, it takes away volume from, let's say it's Apple. It takes away volume from Apple shares, so the liquidity pool gets smaller, and the NASDAQ share volume declines. Apple lists on the NASDAQ, and there's maybe some reciprocal payments there because Apple's so big and so is NVIDIA and Microsoft. NASDAQ wants them there. Why? Because people will use the NASDAQ, and that brings money to the NASDAQ. Every time someone uses the Robinhood app in Europe and buys an Apple token, the NASDAQ gets nothing for it. So I would be concerned here a little bit that over the next few months, the exchanges like NASDAQ, like New York Stock Exchange, or other exchanges around the world that Robinhood is tokenizing will rise up and say, we're going to issue a cease and desist on Robinhood because that is not your product. You're trading something that is our product, that's our shares. Make sense? So to me, that makes me pretty nervous. Not nervous. I'm really curious to see how that unfolds. Because if I'm the NASDAQ, I am suing Robinhood. You're now taking my business away. I don't receive any benefit from the company that I'm listing. It's almost like you're selling a counterfeit good, right? I'm not selling the real Apple shares. When you buy with Robinhood, a tokenized Apple share in Europe, you get no voting rights, you get no dividend payments, but you get the price movement. I don't know. Maybe I'm digging too deep into this, but I do think that the exchanges where those are traded, kind of like a pair of Prada shoes. If I'm buying a pair of Prada shoes, I better be buying it from Prada, and it better be official. Well, that token on Robinhood for Apple is not official. It is a copy. It's a forgery. And I think the original businesses will get upset at this. So hats off to Robinhood. I think this is fantastic, but there will be a political fight here, and I don't know which way it's going to go. I can just tell you that if I was NASDAQ losing volume, which hasn't happened yet, by the way, let's be clear. This isn't like fully implemented and there's no pain point. But it will be interesting over the next 6 months, 8 months, if this catches on in Europe, to see how much of an impact it has on the NASDAQ. Trading volume will decline for the NASDAQ, and certainly for those big securities like this. So something interesting to keep your eye on. I love it. The other thing there is they got caught in a lie. So I mentioned this before a while back. SpaceX. I think that SpaceX will be the biggest IPO in history. And it has the potential, in my opinion, to be one of the most valuable companies in the world. If you can corner the market or be the first to explore a new planet, what does that come with? What rights do you get there? If you're the one that's on that planet, do you get to get all the resources and assets? As we go to Mars, we know it as a red planet. We've certainly done some research, etc. But what if they find just massive stashes of gold or really weird commodities that we value significantly? Granted, we've got to ship it back, but a lot of open-ended questions there. And I think that SpaceX will benefit significantly from that. Plus, they've got Starlink and all sorts of other things. So OpenAI is also on that list where Robinhood said, we are tokenizing SpaceX and OpenAI. So when they go public, we'll have those shares available for you. Robinhood apparently lied, because OpenAI released a statement today saying, we have nothing to do with this. We don't want anything to do with this. We don't support this at all. So very interesting to see what's behind the scenes. But Robinhood certainly made a splash with their press release. And you look at that price chart there, pretty phenomenal. And Margaret, if we put Bitcoin on here for the past few years, Robinhood probably beats it. But if you go back until the start of when they went public, Bitcoin beats it. Beats it. You totally won. Not just Mars, but asteroid belts. Totally. So let me just, for Margaret's sake, I'll put in BTCUSD. And you'll have a percentage chart here. Robinhood's going to absolutely smoke it, right? Because it's just gone parabolic here recently. So it's been a phenomenal performer. If we go back, let's go to the beginning of 2024. How about that? There's the beginning of 2024. Bitcoin is only up 150%. Robinhood's up like 700 and change. But, that all shifts if I go back out here to like 2020. Robinhood did its IPO back in 2021. So if you go back to that point, they're actually relatively close. But it's the next leg up that will cause Bitcoin to run away from that one. Anyway, thanks for that. I know Margaret loves it because she's holding that Robinhood. I would probably buy a little protection just to lock in some profits here because you've had a marvelous run, Margaret, and congratulations on that one. Let's talk about Bitcoin surge today. Love it. We broke out. We've been kind of looking at this bullish flag pattern here on Bitcoin. And let me move this line. This is the measuring object. And if I put that right about here, that gives me a target for right around August of about $146,000 per Bitcoin. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm optimistic that we're going to have a pretty significant run here, but that's certainly a long way. That would be a gain over the next 30 days, trading days, of 34%, which is totally doable in Bitcoin's world. But it was a real good sign that we broke out of that today. We're closing above that downtrend line. And as you can see, you've got two really simple stopping points ahead of us. One is this peak here at about 110,800, and the other one in blue, which is right at 112,000. After that, this thing's going to smoke. And here's why it's absolutely going to rip to the upside. Great looking. I love this picture right here. It's fantastic. It's going to rip to the upside because of this. So this is because the blockchain is transparent and you can see what positions are held at different exchanges, right? It's got the current price here at 109,543, which is it's roughly where we're at on the spot price. These peaks right here, these really tall spikes that you see, show you the amount of short positions. So all of these big, tall spikes in like light blue that you see here on your screen to the right of the vertical price line, all of that are people who have big short positions. And if this thing runs up to, let's say, we go up right here to where it's 6 billion. If you ran this up to about $114,000 per Bitcoin, you would liquidate $6 billion worth of Bitcoin. Shorts. And this isn't like a discretionary thing. This is automatic. These are in smart contracts. This is on leveraged platforms. This is on Aave and Compound and Maker and all sorts of other DeFi marketplaces. This is on the blockchain and public information. So if we get a surge over the next week that pops Bitcoin, let's say to 110, all of a sudden these short positions are forced to buy to cover, which creates another buying frenzy, and that could cause this to really rip to the upside. So I'm looking at this right now as a huge potential. If we can get through just the first bar here, I think that triggers a cascade that all of a sudden launches us to 113, 114. That is, yep, exactly, Margaret, aka short squeeze. And what makes this one unique is in the traditional equity markets, when you look at short markets, right, like how much short interest is out there, typically that data is 30 days old. So for you and I as investors, we don't have an accurate measure of what is the exact short interest on Intel right now, or Microsoft or Apple. We just don't know. You have a 30-day lagging window. With crypto, you have a real-time 100% accurate window, which is a blessing and a curse, right? If you're short in the market heavily, you probably don't want people to see that you're doing that because you could become a target. And in this graphic, notice how far away the leverage longs are. So you've got leverage longs, but they're quite a ways away from current price. So there's no real worry about liquidating the long people by pushing price down. But we're coming right into this huge wall of leverage short positions. And typically what you get with leverage short positions is someone who, a couple $100,000, maybe a couple $1 million. It's an individual typically. trying to use heavy leverage. And some of these platforms will give you 1,000 to 1 leverage. So I almost feel bad for some of these people because as soon as this happens, which I do think it could happen by the end of next week, it could be a monster rip to the upside. So I wanted to share that with you. I normally don't bring this stuff up because it's a little more in the weeds than most of the stuff we talk about on the show, but pretty cool. And obviously I am very bullish on Bitcoin. And if you look at the price chart here, that could easily take us to that 115, 116 mark going forward. Smoked equals channels. Yeah. Buddy, there's a few people out there. Is that too risky? Is what too risky, Rob? What's too risky? But displaying your intents? You don't have a choice, right? If I use a leveraged DeFi site like Aave or Compound or someplace that gives me leverage, or going out to KuCoin or Binance, you can see up at the top, you got OKX and Bybit, Binance. These are some of the major exchanges that offer major leverage. Oh yeah, Rob says, is that too risky using leverage? 100%. 100%. Rob, you've been doing this a long time. Most people here have been doing it a long time. And I think that most people that have been in trading a long time understand that margin should be used with caution. For people that are in their first 6 months of trading, they don't have caution. They like to use leverage because they probably have a small account and they're like, I am loading the boat here because I'm going to get rich quick. That's usually who gets annihilated, who gets absolutely eviscerated in the marketplace. And I think that may happen here. Yeah, Mick, leverage equals, it can mean you're smoked, right? I use leverage every now and again, but not that often. If you look at even my regular trading, I might go 50% leverage. So, let's say you got $1 million account, I might go 1.5 million, but I typically don't want to go full Monty, if you will. And depending on the instruments you use, in the equity, in spot Forex in the US, you can get 50 to 1 leverage. But if you use some of these international crypto exchanges, they're talking 1,000 to 1 leverage. Yeah, make 500, that's nuts. And it works so great if it's in your favor, right? That's where you're like telling all your friends and bragging about how much money you're making. Look, you'll get annihilated. Just keep doing it. Does Wall Street use these leverage brokers to short crypto? Possibly. I think that the big Wall Street firms are doing different marketplaces. I don't think they're going to be going to Binance and using leverage there. I think they have their own instruments that they use that they're building out. Let's see. Watch out! Don't give it back after it works. Yeah. Yeah, leverage shorts, big time. In crypto, it's big, and sometimes this is where you see really big swings because it's very it can be very clear where those levels are. And there's people who will literally look at the blockchain and go, oh, there's a huge block right here that's going to get stopped out, $500 below Bitcoin's price, and they will push Bitcoin's price to automatically liquidate it. Remember, the person who does a leverage position is using a service. It's using a DeFi marketplace. So it's all in the code. It's in the smart contract. So if it hits that number, it's not like there's an admin who's saying, well, should we get him out? Should we close this short position because it just hit this number? It's instant snap the fingers done via program, by a smart contract. So it basically says if this number gets touched, buy it all. Close out the short position. Or if you're long, sell it all. Instant. Lloyd says, I don't even like to use margin. Don't like to pay interest. Yeah, I'm with you. I'll use margin if I feel very strongly that something's moving in my direction. And typically it's adding to winning positions and things like that. But I thought you guys might find this one interesting because, we've been struggling with this Bitcoin price chart. It really feels like it's just kind of been floundering here and slowly going down, which would warrant a buildup of short positions. However, that break today, we're at 110, 285. We are literally $1,500 away from all-time highs. And as soon as we break through all-time highs, this thing is going to lift. It's going to rocket very, very quickly. So, fun stuff ahead of us there. All right, let me run through. I have a half a day left on my positions. Everything at this point for this week has been fantastic. I mentioned yesterday I sold some 280 puts on Tesla. So let me show you that new addition, then we'll run through what the changes are. So those are my two strike prices I have on Tesla on the screen. I've got the green at 280 and I have the 305s. Yesterday was like a uh-oh kind of moment as you heard about the deportation of Elon Musk, which come on, there's no way that's going to happen. That's just theater in my opinion. No way. The backlash would be absolutely massive. Anyway, we had a big jump up today, almost 5% gain for Tesla. Here is the numbers. So I sold the 280 puts expiring tomorrow and $3.18 was the premium I collected. So that was over 1% for 3 days or for 2 days. That's a great rate of return, and it was a good position. So that is the Tesla. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I mean, right now it's at 316. If it drops $10, which would be about 3% tomorrow, then I'll get exercised on my 305 puts, but I don't think I'll get exercised in the 280. I think that's going to expire worthless, which is great. Love it. The other notable ones here, we talked about USO, and I've been kind of anticipating USO start to rally to the upside. Well, look, there's USO. Nice day today. Was up 2.25%, rallying another 0.25% in the after-hour session. So my strike price on USO is $71. We're currently at $75. I'm pretty sure that that's going to expire worthless, all right? What else did I have on there? Oh, the big one for me, this was a big one today, MicroStrategy. So I have a bit of MicroStrategy. Today we're up 7.76%, erasing all of yesterday's losses. I do have the 410 call against it. That's that blue line at the top. So if it gets above that 410 strike, my MicroStrategy will disappear. And I know some of you can be like, oh, why'd you get rid of it? Because that was my initial plan, and if it hits it and goes through it, I'll just sell puts again next week. I'm fine with it and just keep collecting premium. But remember, that MicroStrategy, which I'm looking to sell here, there was 2 tranches of that one. First one was 375. Let's adjust these numbers here. I know that we're modifying things a little bit, but I'll get the numbers on here just so you can see them in transparency. So there was a 375 put that was executed, and like a month ago, I sold a 400, which was right. Put this on here. Come on. 400. And I collected over $25 per share on that one, so that's fine. But those are my 2 positions. There was 300 shares bought at 400, 300 shares bought at 375. So ultimately, including if you take out all the extra premium, if I get taken away at 410, perfect, right? It's going to be a pretty nice end of the day. So ideally, I really, in a perfect world, I would hope we close at 409.99, right? Close right below it, and there we go. Rob says, follow the rules, no emotions. Absolutely. And I know I do things slightly differently. I mentioned some of my strategies before, and some of you are like, well, why would you do that? Why don't you do a spread? It works for me, and it's been working, and I don't want to change it, right? If I'm hitting home runs with the swinging left-handed, and I'm right-handed, I'm going to keep swinging left-handed. So it worked. Short day tomorrow, yeah. So either the odds are pretty good that all of those positions I just showed you will expire worthless. The only one that's not expiring tomorrow is the USO. So USO is for next week, the 11th. So I bought myself a little more time with that because the premium, I wanted to get over 1%. Do ice cubes melt faster in the summer? I'll tell you what, ice cubes move a lot faster or melt a lot faster with all the volatility going on. And the volatility is great. I mean, if you look at this MicroStrategy chart, look at those last 3 candles. You think that premium isn't all over the place on this bad boy? Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Merlin, I know you have a 1% account. Do you look for 1% returns on all your short puts? No. It's just kind of a benchmark number. It's a great question, Lisa. If I find a level that I really want to buy it at, and that level gets me less or more, I'm going to go for that level. These ones, especially with the USO, I was kind of targeting 1% because in the account I'm using for you guys, this account here, again, this is not all my accounts. This is one account. I'm just sharing one account with you guys. I don't feel like I need to share every account I have with you. I do that review at the end of the year where I kind of display my accounts and show what the rates of return were. But as far as documenting trades, it was just too much for me. So this is just one account that I'm in for this show. And for that, I'm typically shooting for 1% a week, which is much more aggressive than I think most people here would want to take, right? I think most people here would want to go for, 1 or 2% a month, and then you're going to, let's say you get 2% a month, and you get 24% rate of return per year. Great. I'd like to go a little bit more than that. So, at least with this account. And I probably should do a mid-year review, but I'll just do it all at the end of the year. It's the TM account. Yeah, this is my TM account. The Trader Merlin account is what I'm calling this one. So this is one. It's not my largest. My largest account I do with the 1%. But this one is pretty good size. I mean, it's enough that you can make a living off of this account. I mean, with these positions here, if you were to continue rolling this weekly, it's a great living. That's why I love trading. All right, let's see. Keep it jig, don't tell them all. Rob, I don't really have a problem being transparent and showing all my accounts. It's just logistics. This is an easy one for me to track. It's probably my more active account. The other account that I do, the one that Lisa was talking about, my 1% account, that's 1% typically per month I'm striving for. That's the minimum. Much bigger sizes, but not as volatile. I'm trading things that are kind of boring, but no, that's just the grind away. Keep growing your wealth, growing your wealth, growing your wealth. Do you increase trade size as you continue to do better, more contracts? Yeah. So as accounts grow, typically, I usually don't like having an account with over 500,000 in it. And the reason for that is your SIPC insured up to $500,000 worth of securities. So I don't like to have any one particular account more than 500. So I will usually take that money out and open another account with it. But that depends. I'm at 50% in a day. I will take that. At times I put a closing order of 5 cents. I usually let mine expire worthless. These expire worthless. The turtle wins the race at the end. Absolutely, Rob. And you know what? It's. I feel like I'm applying the rules of the turtle, but I'm actually acting like the rabbit with the speed of some of the volatility here. And that's just a matter of personal discretion. For those of you that are trading options, you understand that you can pick something that's extremely volatile, and sometimes you get burnt. And right now, I've not, knock on wood, have not had any bad beats here this year. Haven't taken any really bad lumps so far. I had some pretty big drawdown on SMCI at one point, but that managed to recoup, and the call options against it made it for a very, very good trade. Watch out for the grass. Hey, you can pick any animal you want, and I guess your job, all of your job, is to figure out what your style is. I think that's one of the hardest parts, is understanding the psychology of trading, how you're going to approach this infinite world of potential money-making opportunity. Do you trade options, futures, forex, commodities, real estate, crypto? Do you trade collateralized default swaps? Do you trade CFDs? There's so many things to trade. And then once you figure that out, it's like, okay, now I need to refine my strategy, which is why I really enjoyed doing the show the other day for my neighbor Mason, which I have not heard hide nor hair of, but it's okay. We did it anyway. When you're starting out, I think you get swayed so much by people's actions and their words. And I hate that I'm even going to do this, but let me just go here and bring up something real quick. Let's go to YouTube.
There's some new studies you're going to want to break down with me.
Hold on. We're going to go to... just want to show you this. When you're out on social media and you see garbage like this, trash. Oh, another day I made 17. Like, you see this and you're like, oh, okay. He's making so much money. I want to do what he does, And it's like, dude, these are lies. This is BS. And I think that this gives a bad impression on what trading is. It really bothers me that people are allowed to do that. I don't make claims on any monetary. Like at the end of the year, I'll tell you percentages on my accounts, but I don't put numbers on it because, number one, I don't want to put a target on me for any numbers, good or bad. But, part of why I'm okay sharing this with you is all of you are doing different things. Some of you might even be on the opposite sides of these trades, which is great, right? It's great. You can be on the opposite side of the trade. You and I could be on the opposite side of a trade and still both of us could make money, which I think is one of the unique things about trading. It's all how our strategy is played. Margaret says, why does he make YouTube videos if you make that much in a day? Because he can bring in, if you post those numbers, and that might be collective over all the people that are in his group, who knows? But when you have sensationalism like those numbers that he shows you there, a new person like Mason, my neighbor across the street who wants to start day trading, will listen to my show and go, oh, well, Merlin doesn't make a lot of money. Merlin doesn't make any money. And you won't know because I'm not going to tell you. It's I'm not here to toot my own horn. It's clickbait, right, exactly. And I think guys like that are clickbait. And once you do, he's got it perfectly done, orchestrated marketing machine to get you to buy from him and take his courses and all this different stuff. And then if that one person spends 50, 60 grand, then he makes a ton of money off the process with zero interest in your success, zero community support. It's all online, which is why I align myself with Trading Academy, because there is an interest in student success. There is physical classrooms where we can, meet up and teach physical on location stuff. And you have all kinds of resources and pieces for you to help you improve your trading. I know there's no guarantees that everyone's going to make it. A lot of people fail at this because they don't follow the rules. They don't have a plan. They're just literally looking for this guy's headline saying, oh, how can I get rich? Oh, this guy. Yep. 51,000 in a day. I want to go there. Total garbage. Total garbage. You have several. You've got Mark Schlichter. He says, who's the options instructor? You have Larry Jacobson. You have Mark Schlichting. God, there's a whole bunch. I think it's like 5, but I think Jordan Matthews as well does options, I think. We've got a few. There. Oh, thanks, Harrison. That's good to hear. OTA saved my trading dreams. Good. I'm glad. And I always encourage people to go back into your classes. If you're a Trading Academy graduate, guys, you paid for that right to go and retake classes. Now, you can't retake anyone because it's space available. But just start putting your toe back in the water in the classroom and start taking some classes. Refresh. Content changes, markets changes, different perspectives. He might have good content, Tofi, but when you clickbait people by showing all the money you're going to make, I immediately call you a liar. And like Margaret says, if you're making $50,000 in a day or $90,000 in a day, as he says he's doing, what are you doing? Why would you need to do a sell anything, right? Most students take options, class at TA. I don't know the statistics. I think it's a mix of all asset classes. I think that futures is a very popular one. Options is a very popular one. Forex has really kind of slowed down, I believe, which is strange because Forex gives you some of the greatest leverage in domestic markets in the U.S. Yep, Saminsky's great. I like his personality. That's the thing. We all have different teachers we resonate with. Obviously, you guys resonate with my style because you're still here. There's some people who were here and have left probably because they just don't like the way that I talk or my cynicism or my, I don't know, just the way I approach the markets or, I don't know, my condescending approach. Who knows? Rob says, just set goals and aim for them to get some more till the bend. It's set goals, Rob, but I think anybody who's starting out doesn't know what those goals are. I would argue set realistic goals, and by that you have to understand what the rates of return are for these markets historically. Jordan's a down-to-earth, honest, straight shooter. A lot of these trading people on social media, aren't. It's the Trump impersonations that push people away, and that might be. Look, it's not to call him bad. It's how he talks. Come on, I should impersonate. Who else should I impersonate so I can balance it out? Chuck Schumer. I'll impersonate Chuck Schumer. Live classes are better online. Yeah, Jimmy, NorCal. And maybe we'll get NorCal opened up again. I love the San Jose Center. That was fun. I taught there a few times. And of course, I don't know how you talk like Pelosi. Just kind of stutter and sound really old. I don't need to show off my luxury outfit from Thailand. I've got a Big Lebowski t-shirt on today. Big Lebowski. I have so many. It's one of my favorite movies, by the way, guys. Anyway, let me move on here before we keep going down this rabbit hole of who's good, who's bad in the industry. Y'all have to make up your own mind as far as who you like. But, when you see people making outlandish claims, especially, $100,000 in a day, come on, man. You're lying. You're lying. Anyway, let's go into our half day for tomorrow. And where did my Forex Factory go so I can bring up that data? Tomorrow, believe it or not, is a big day. Now, I don't believe I'm going to be doing any trading. I say that, but if I still end up with my MicroStrategy position and we close close to 410, I'll probably sell the 430 puts tomorrow because I get that extra day of decay over the weekend, which that might be where I end up doing. Well, I'll let you guys know on Monday because I'm not doing a show Thursday or Friday. Tomorrow, Thursday, notice you got a couple red factories here. Average hourly earnings, you got non-farm employment change, you have ISM services PMI, and then the big daddy is the unemployment rate, which is expected to tick up. I don't think it's that dramatic. We were at 4.3 back here in August of last year, so it's not like it's that big of a deal to be at 4.3, especially when you look at where we are since COVID or historical. But it does illustrate that the trend is slowly going up, and that looks good. Was that for me there, Lisa? The 430 puts? I don't have the 430. Oh, 430 calls. 430 calls on MicroStrategy. So I am long currently MicroStrategy. I've got 600. Well, it's the only position you guys know my actual size. I have 600 shares long outright of MicroStrategy, and I'm selling covered calls against it. So right now I have the 410s. If we close up tomorrow, let's say we close up here. I'll move this line. Let's say we close up here right around 408, 409. then I'll probably sell the 430 calls against it because I do think Bitcoin's poised for a run. But, and, you know, if we got 600 shares and it goes from 410 to 430, that's $20 per share. Times that by 600, you're talking $12,000. I'm okay with that. That'd be fine. And I'm going to do that for a weekly basis, by the way. Okay, weekly basis. Yeah, I messed up. Maybe I said puts, Lisa, because I was talking very quickly, but no, I will be selling calls against my outright MicroStrategy position, of which I will, next week when we get there, I'll update this bad boy here, and we'll see how it goes. You should post your Bitcoin chart pattern, the flag pattern. What, on Twitter and Discord? Where do you want it? I should post the target. So here's the Bitcoin price chart. I should post the chart like this. Zoom in a little bit so we can kind of see the whole spiel. Oh, man. Tell you what, if that happens, I know for one that Big Eb's going to be screaming. Oh, it's not there. There it is. Sorry. If I know for one, Big Eb will be cheering. I think Margaret will be cheering as well. Man, if we saw that nice rally like that, I might have to take a day off because my voice would sound like this from screaming so much I wouldn't be able to talk. We get to 145, 146, and by August, man, I'm going to be very, very, very happy. Now, of course, I still think 250, but every day we go without having a big surge leads me to believe that 250 might be a little far-fetched. But I'm still holding on to it. That wasn't Trump. That was there's a commercial years ago where the woman has a cigarette in her hand. She's like, people tell me all the time, Helen, you got to stop smoking. And she puts the cigarette in her tracheotomy. Man, that was that impersonation, that really raspy one, but not Trump. Trump is more about hitch and his hand gestures and waving around because no one knows how to do hand gestures or use bullish flag measuring objects like I do. I wrote the pattern here. Oh, boy. And I'm not even drinking today, folks. No drugs. I'm not drinking, but I will be later on this evening. All right. That's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you for entertaining me or being entertained with us. I hope you guys all had fun today. I hope that tomorrow is a great day for you. I hope that you come back on Monday with all of your digits intact. Be careful out there. Hopefully have a great 4th of July. Be proud of who you are, the things that you've done. We're going to do some great things for the remainder of the year. So we're halfway through the year. And yeah, thank you guys for your support. Take the next 2 days off. I will see y'all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Take care.